Hi, I'm Julian Feser. I'm from the University Hospital in Vienna, and I'm presenting a Struvet stone patient. So this is our patient, 52-year-old primary school teacher, lovely lady, but completely AI generated. She is slightly overweight with a BMI of 29. She already suffered from recurrent UTIs in her medical history, but nothing too serious. She developed a type 2 diabetes, but had no prior stones before. But she got a new medication from her general practitioner due to her diabetes, and Sudocrem, an SGLT2 inhibitor plus metformin, which she takes for a few weeks now. And she presented at our clinic with dysuria, flank pain, fever. She had a urine that was suspicious for infection. She also had leukocytosis and an elevated CRP in her blood test. And urine analysis showed an alkaline urine, pH above 8, with nitrate positive, lycocyturia and glucosuria, according to her medication probably. And we also did the urine microscopy, a sediment of the microscopy of the sediment, and it showed these coffin-shaped crystals. So we can stop our diagnosis already, and now she will have Struvet stones, but of course we continued, did an ultrasound and saw a huge calcification in the renal pelvis. She also had a hydronephrosis. And since we are in a university hospital, we did everything you could do. We also did a CT scan, and it confirmed a large stone in the right kidney with partial obstruction. And this is a 3D image, big stone. Since she just came, you usually do not have a culture analysis already available, but let's say she already had a UTI a few weeks before, and her GE did a urine analysis, and it showed a Proteus mirabilis, an urease producing organism similar to other organisms like Klebsiella, Morganella, and so on. And bear with me, short sidestep to the pathophysiology of Struvet stone formation. Usually I ask my residents in which direction should we modulate the urine pH just to check if they understand the disease. We have this urease producing bacteria. The urease, the enzyme, will split the urea, which is common in the urine, into ammonia, and this ammonia will react with the water in the urine and form an ammonium. But in this process, the urine gets alkaline because an OH will split, an H will split from the water, and you will have this alkaline urine. And in this alkaline urine, the predisposing factors in the urine, like magnesium and phosphate, will combine with the ammonium into those magnesium ammonium phosphate stones, the so-called Struvite stones. There are several factors predisposing this condition, like prior infections, neurogenic bladders, foreign bodies in the kidney or in the urogenital tract, prior stone disease, and so on and so on. But in this ERU oversight, there's missing two important factors: being a woman and having diabetes. These are two factors strongly associated with UTIs and therefore also Struvet stone formation. We did the acute management. We started immediately with an antibiotic, in this case empiric, because we didn't have the culture results yet. The recommendations for the antibiotics will differ between the regions depending on the resistance of the region for specific antibiotics, but you could go for fluoroquinolones, cephalosporins, beta-lactamase inhibitors. We, in this case, choose the ceftriaxone, a third-generation cephalosporin. And of course, you should tailor your treatment according to the culture. As soon as you have the results, you should check if the antibiotic is the right one and change if it's not. And since she had infection and an obstruction, she was admitted to the hospital, and was monitored for sepsis, and we did an acute drainage of her urogenital system, or the right kidney in this case. So we did put a double J stent and a catheter, important, and a catheter. The urine needs to get out, or should not be stored in the bladder, and we continued with the IV antibiotics. So far, so standard. This is how I guess everybody would do it. Now the tricky questions begin. Of course, we continued the antibiotics until the patient stabilized, the infection parameters normalized. We did send the patient home because the reality faces us with a longer waiting time for the stone clearance. Now, should we continue the antibiotics, yes or no? Should we acidify the urine? And if yes, how should we do it? What about the Synjardy? Should she continue or switch to alternatives? What about the timeline for the treatment? Any dietary changes immediately recommended? And how would we treat the stone? So I start with the last question. We have three treatment options, PSNL, flexible URS, or a combined procedure. And in this case, we opted for the combined procedure. Patient was stone-free. We placed the mono J stent and a frostomy that were removed on the first and second postoperative day. The patient was discharged on the third day, and we put her on oral antibiotics, continued for 5 days. So far, so good. There would have been an alternative, maybe. We heard a lot of suction devices in endourology, like the fans or the direct in-scope suction. This would have been an alternative, especially if it's a smaller soft stone. What about the follow-up? We treated the patient, the stone is gone, but is the infection really gone? This should be monitored. You should send the patient to the office urologist or call them back into your clinics to check the urine culture. In my opinion, you need an imaging after a month or 6 weeks. Usually we do an ultrasound just to check if there are any residual fragments, if there is persistent hydronephrosis. The patient needs annual monitoring if everything went good. But what about SGLT2 inhibitors? In my opinion, in this first episode of stone formation, I would continue the patient on the medication if she tolerates it well, and but I would acidify the urine. And here we have different options how to acidify the urine. There are the home remedies, like my infectious disease specialist in my clinic. He prescribes apple vinegar, 2 tablespoons in a glass of water every evening, but this is terrible on the stomach. You can use a medication like the L-methionine in a lead control pH down that is better tolerated and as effective. Any questions so far?